1, 2, 3, 4.
All right, welcome back to Country and Cold Cans. As always, I'm Logan, sitting here with Kyle and Andy, and today we have a guest picker for this edition of Slap or Crap. It's a friend of mine and also my co-host over on our other podcast, Miserable and Reckless. Go find that on Spotify, Podbean, Apple Podcasts. Find us on social media. But yeah, welcome, Ryan. Appreciate you coming on Country and Cold Cans.
No worries. Last minute guest picker.
That's right, last minute guest picker.
That was cool.
Yeah, so you get to put on your music critic hat today.
I'll do my best.
Well, before we get started, I'd like to take a moment and acknowledge that today is 316 Day in honor of the toughest son of a bitch in the WWF, the Texas Rattlesnake himself, Stone Cold Steve Austin. So give me a hell yeah on that one. So
hell yeah.
All right, I knew Andy was going to do it. But jumping right before we get into the main topic today, like I said, we're doing Slap or Crap again, where we go through, we pick 5 songs that have come out relatively recently. We've all listened to them beforehand. We're going to talk about whether we think it is crap, or as the kids say, does it slap? And we'll kind of give some talking points on that. But before we get into that, has anybody been listening to anything interesting lately? Kyle, I'll throw it to you, man.
Yeah. So I took I can't remember his real name. I think I'll Stay Here and Meme we had on last year. I'm listening to some of the guys he recommended. Nicholas Jameson got back on the Tyler Childers kick. And one thing I noticed, you can definitely tell a difference between the Texas scene and the Kentucky scene. Kentucky's a lot more bluegrass, which is cool. But
it's a lot more Appalachia kind of sound in the music.
Not as much rock, but still good. Nicholas Jameson, like his music.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Nick Jamerson too. Speaking, I'll go next because you actually had a good segue for me. I've rediscovered my love for Sunday Best, which Nick Jamerson was the lead singer of. I didn't realize that Nicholas Jamerson was the lead singer of that because I found those guys when I was in college. Chase O'Brien actually is the one who told me about them. How Chase found out about them, God only knows. But I used to listen to them in college, and I thought they were really cool. I mean, they have kind of a unique sound because it's a duo. They have some other band members when they tour, but it's Nicholas Jamerson, on guitar and lead vocals, and then his bandmate plays the Cajun drum. So it's kind of interesting to listen to that. It has a real rootsy sound, but I really dig a lot of their stuff, and so I've kind of rediscovered, that music from years ago. And so shout out to the meme man himself from Think I'll Just Stay Here and Meme for turning us on to these Kentucky guys. Andy, what about you?
Yeah, another meme man recommendation. I've been listening to some Tony Logue a lot this week.
Yeah, have you got a favorite song of his?
That's tough. I will say I can't agree with the meme man. Earnhardt is really good.
Yeah, so Ryan, he has a song called Earnhardt, and it's basically a song about him and his dad, but it's like through the lens of NASCAR. I meant to tell you about that. I think you'd like it. So I'll have to send that to you when we get done here. But
all right. Yeah, I'm always good for any father-son NASCAR talk.
Yeah. So, Ryan, what about you? What you been listening to, man?
Well, you put me on the spot right before we hopped on here.
Yeah.
But I was able to recover a little bit quickly. So this actually may play out a little bit later on, and it may explain some of my thoughts later on in the podcast. But Rustin Kelly, I think I'm saying his name correctly. I've been getting back into. I originally started listening to him in 2018. I think it was like the Dying Star record. And then he had another album that came out, I believe it was last year, but don't quote me on that. Kind of dealing with like his return from like alcoholism and stuff like that. And it's kind of interesting. Like, what does he do with his life now? So that's a preview into maybe a little bit later on. And then the other band is also out of Nashville. They're Wildorado. I don't know if you guys heard of these.
I don't think I've heard of them.
They put out like 5 or 6 new songs in the last 6 months. And it's obviously leading up to a second album. And then of course the third one, I don't think you guys are more Texas, right? But Eric Church obviously keeps releasing new music left and right.
Well, we're all big Church fans on this show. So
I figured that was a safe bet, but yeah, I guess that's what next month.
Yeah. April 16th is when Heart comes out. Then, April 23rd, I believe Soul comes out. And then the Ampersand record, only on vinyl, available to the church choir, comes out sometime either between or after. I'm not sure, but April 16th is big day because that's when that first collection of 9 songs drops. Then But yeah, speaking of new music, also in the next like week or two, Austin Meade, another one of the younger guys out of the Texas rock scene within the Texas music scene, his new album Black Sheep, I believe it's called, is dropping. We covered a lot of one of his more recent singles he did with Co Wetzel called Happier Alone on Valentine's Day, ironically, and so I do recommend checking that out when it comes out. So Austin Meade and Black Sheep coming out in a week or two. All right. So, like I said, we're having a new edition of Slapper Crap. Ryan from Miserable and Reckless is our guest picker for this week. Quick rundown once again: 5 songs, relatively recent, come out. We give our opinions on each song after we've all previously listened to them today, and tell you whether we think it's crap or, as the kids say, does it slap. So the first one is a song called Where the Neon Lies by a guy named Triston Marez featuring Ronnie Dunn of Brooks and Dunn. Just a little background on Triston. He's been in the Texas scene for a little while. He's very neo-traditional, very reminiscent of 90s country. So Andy, where do you stand on Where the Neon Lies, slap or crap?
Slap. It the song just sounds so good. Like, and their voices too mesh very well. I thought like it wasn't like a big sharp contrast from Ronnie Dunn to like Tristan's voice. And then the word lyrically, I haven't got super into it because I get mesmerized by the sound of it every time. But
do you get as mesmerized by that as you do when you look at pictures of Parker McCollum?
He's got a new man crush.
Not even close. It's not even close. That's the one song that the lyrics, I haven't really dug that into it because I keep getting lost into like the sound of it. I don't know what he looks like.
He looks like he sounds.
Yeah, he does. It's like starch jeans, tucked in shirt, cowboy hat, what you would expect.
Yeah. From
a Texas guy that sings it's very reminiscent of like Randall King, who's a little bit of a bigger name, signed to a major label now, putting out songs on the radio. But yeah, I mean, if you're into that neo-traditional sound, Tristan's music was kind of up your alley. But Kyle, what about you? Where the Neon Lies?
Oh, this slaps. Song brings back nostalgia. Brooks and Dunn is probably right there with Eric Church for me. Huge Brooks and Dunn fan. This reminds me a lot, like the sound of it reminds me a lot of like the early 2000s, what you would hear like on Wednesdays, my grandma would pick me up from school, and this sounds like something that would be on the radio riding home with her. So it kind of scratches that nostalgia itch with it being a new song. And 2, it's always good to hear Ronnie Dunn make new music. So it's a slap. Yeah.
So that's 2 slaps. I'm going to throw it over making his country and Cole Can's debut today. Ryan, what about you?
So I texted Logan before this podcast and I asked him, like, should I come in hard with opinions or should I just lay back? And first things first, I went to this guy's Spotify bio. I've never heard of him before. Everything in his bio is in all caps. All right. You're 22 years old. You need to calm down a little bit. All right. All right. You're not that exciting. Next of all, the first thing, it's interesting you guys have both brought that up because I got notes here. I said Neon Moon may be my favorite Brooks and Dunn song. And that's literally, this song is the nephew to Neon Moon. I mean, I know Ronnie Dunn wrote the original, but it's a good thing he's on this because he's borderline plagiarizing with the lyrics. Like I compared them side by side. He sings Shadows in Every Room. And then there's on the Neon Moon, it's You're in the Shadows of this Smoke-Filled Room. In here, I convinced myself, sure want what we had, beer after beer, I chased this whiskey down. In this buzzing blue light atmosphere, the truth don't hang around. That's on Tristan's song on Neon Moon. It's no telling how many tears I've sat here and cried or how many lies that I've lied, telling my poor heart she'll come back someday. I mean, this is like when they remake the original Point Break. I mean, they were both Neon Moon and Point Break both came out in 1991. You'll recognize the bones immediately. So as soon as I started listening to it, I'm like, oh, there's a lot of expectations here, bro. Like you better be able to come through on this. And quite frankly, I agree with what Andy said. Their voices do go well together. I agree with what Kyle said. It's written right here. It takes me back a bit. It's kind of that soundlit Midland, I think, was shooting for a couple years ago. It's that real 90s. I guess you would call it neo-traditional. I just call it Brooks and Dunn. So all that to say, it's not crap. I'm not sure it slaps, but it definitely leans more towards slapping than rapping.
So one thing I probably should have told you before, but we do you can do on a scale. Doesn't have to be slap necessarily or crap. Sounds like you're giving it a light slap.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah,
I like Midland. It's just it's good.
I'll give him a pass on how close the lyrics are, just because Ronnie Dunn's on the song.
Oh, I'm sure that's why he got him to sing, right?
More than likely avoids a lawsuit.
Their voices do go really well together, and as soon as I was listening to it, I was like, "This is well done.
Yeah,
this is definitely well done."
I agree. That's a good segue for me because this is generally up my alley. I mean, I grew up on 90s country, grew up on early 2000s country, and this smacks right, down the road for that kind of stuff. It's and the nostalgia factor for me, that kind of like neo-traditional sound, because a lot of these guys are around my age, a little, maybe to a few years older. They grew up listening to the same stuff. So it kind of makes sense that some of these guys in the more traditional vein in the Texas scene are making music that sounds like this. And at the same time, he's not reinventing the wheel here, right? He, it's just your normal country song about being in a dimly lit bar to escape the reality of a girl being gone. I do like the line about the jukebox keeping your heart from breaking. I think that's pretty strong. But to Kyle's point earlier, anytime you get Ronnie Dunn giving vocals on anything, I think it's a good thing. So I'm going to give it a moderate slap on my end, just because it's generally right up my alley, but at the same time, it's not anything. It's nothing trailblazing, but it's an enjoyable song. All right, so moving on away from Texas a minute over to the mainstream. I know that we have some strong opinions from our guest picker on this next artist. We have our own opinions on Country and Cold Cans on some of his stuff, but we're moving into the realm of Thomas Rhett. He just released a 3-song EP that is a bit rootsier. It's a return to some of his previous stuff. But the song in particular that we examined for this episode is Growing Up by Thomas Rhett. So I'm going to throw it over to Ryan, since you're the resident Tommy Rhett fan here.
All right. So for those that don't know, Tommy Rhett, as I like to refer to him, was one of the first concerts that I was able to see for him when he was actually kind of coming out. I was up in Baltimore with a bunch of friends, and I was like, I think this guy's going places. Seen him a bunch of times since then, Delaware, Tortuga, a bunch of other times. Spent a lot of time in Nashville, also in his neck of the woods over by Lipscomb, where he went to school. So kind of been out in his hood and seen a lot of different places he talked about and mentions. So I'm excited for this first release of his double album. It's coming out on April 30th. And listening to 3 songs he's put out so far, I think it's clear he's had a lot to learn over the past few years, being a father, going through the pandemic, everything else. We mentioned it a couple times, but I got 2 new fathers over on the Miserable and Reckless pod with me, and it's kind of fun to watch them go through life. You got those little eyes looking up at them and everything else. So all that to say, this song, when I listened to it for the first time, I actually did text Logan privately about it because it kind of hit home for me. The beginning of this song sounds exactly like Tom Petty's It'll All Work Out. I don't know if anyone else picked up on that. I can't tell if it's a koto or not, which is like a Japanese instrument. That was just the instrument that they were using that Mike Campbell was playing in the It'll All Work Out song, but it sounds exactly the same. And that was the first thing I thought of. I thought it was kind of interesting. I like the line, ain't come a long way, but I've come a little, hanging out somewhere in the middle. Guess you would get a little older, a little wiser, a little more turn that cheek. And then when he talks about having a little less whiskey in his cup, that's definitely something I've had to learn over the years, especially when I've gotten married. And I'm not blaming her for that. I'm just saying, probably for the best. Logan knows pretty much every night we've hung out in person, there's been some wildness. There's some crazy time. So, I like this slaps. I was a fan as soon as it came out. That's my long and short version of saying that it's great.
All right, so we got 1 slap on the board. Kyle, what about you? Growing Up, Thomas Rhett.
I'll give it a slap. Thomas Rhett is, when he has highs, he has really high highs, and then he can just have really, really bad lows.
Southside song about shaking your ass the whole time.
Yeah, I mean, look, man, he makes songs for college-age women and women. They love Thomas Rhett. I mean, let's just call a spade a spade. He's an attractive guy. But, I mean, this is a good song. There's a couple songs that I really like by him. Beer Came Fixed with John Party. The one he did with his dad's really good. The name is Escaping Me. Drink a Little Beer. It's a good song. So I'll get. I mean, like Ryan said, he had some catchy lyrics in it. I think a lot of it. I'm not a father, but you do get older. I can't drink quite as much whiskey on a Tuesday night as I used to. Some wiki, yeah. So it's a good song. I won't say it's like a banger slap, but it's a solid slap.
Yeah. All right, so 2 slaps. I'll go next because after Ryan texted me about this song, I went and checked it out because I know like he and my older brother are much bigger TR fans than I am. I kind of miss the era of Thomas Rhett back in like 2013 with that first record because we were all like 19. Me, Andy, and Kyle were all 19 back then. And that was like one of the albums that kind of came out. We were all like listening to a lot at the time. And we were all fans of that. And then he kind of started to become, he wanted to be country Bruno Mars for a little while. Some of it was pretty catchy and some of it's enjoyable music, not country in the slightest, but it's enjoyable music. But some of it's just downright bad at the same time. So I'm going to say something that I probably have never said on this podcast nor on our Twitter, and that's that I like a Thomas Rhett song. I really, really like this song. Growing Up is a fantastic song. It has a rootsier sound than a lot of his previous stuff, as I mentioned earlier. He said that this record's going to sound like it did back when he was listening to Eric Church all the time, and I think that's only a good thing. But it's still solidly mainstream. I mean, it's still palatable enough to the soccer moms and to the audience that radio caters to. But I like this song because it's a song about self-awareness and responsibility. I mean, you can't be 20 years old forever. And it's kind of hit me because now at 27, I definitely kind of, you kind of learn that you don't know as much as you thought you knew when you were younger. The older you get, the more you realize there's a lot you don't know. And this song kind of really highlights that. But at the same time, there's still a little bit of that kid that you were, as the song says, still in you. And to Ryan's point, I love the line about little less Jack in my cup. I guess I'm growing up because it's just a true to life line. So I'm going to give it a regular slap on this one. I like this song. Andy, what about you?
I'm going to go off of what you said too. This is the first song I've heard in Thomas Rhett in a while that made me want to go back and listen to his first album, not never hear another Thomas Rhett song again. So that was a nice change. I'm going to give it a slap, and I like the little less Jack in my cup line as well. But I also kind of like the little slight change of it in the last chorus, I believe, a little bit less Jack up in my truck, because if you remember, at least Logan does from high school, basically everybody in high school drove jacked up trucks.
Except for me and you. We just had regular
basically
trucks.
We're probably the only people in the whole county that didn't have jacked up pickups.
Hey, I had a Toyota Corolla.
Well, you also went to the city school, so.
Yeah, that's true.
But too is like I generally don't like any lyrics about lifted up trucks, but I actually like this one because nobody when they get older still lifts their trucks. It's part of growing up in the South, I guess, is that is something that changes when you get up. And I like to play on like the little bit less Jack and then changing the line for the second chorus. I've always liked when people do that.
Well, all those kids jacking their trucks up now in North Carolina, maybe I saw on Twitter, maybe they can use their stimulus money to jack up the back end and it just won't be riding around with the Carolina squat.
Only.
But yeah, I mean, I think it's a solid song. I agree. I think that if this is indicative of the direction he's going to go for this next album, I'm all for it. And I'm kind of excited to see what he's going to release because the guy has the ability to make some good music. I mean, you go back to Beer with Jesus, fantastic song. And I just have been disappointed at times. But, as an aside, Ryan, we interviewed an artist out of Texas named Austin Upchurch that before he started his band, the very first time he sung on stage, I think he said, he was with his then girlfriend at a Thomas Rhett concert. Thomas Rhett pulled him up on stage and told him to, what song do you want to sing? He was like, I think it was Star of the Show. And Star of the Show hadn't been released yet. He'd only heard it on YouTube. And then Thomas Rhett covered the mic and he goes, how the fuck do you know that song? He's like, I know every word. I saw it on YouTube. And he sung on stage with Thomas Rhett that night at a small venue show. It's kind of cool.
Very cool.
All right, so taking it from current mainstream country and throwing it a little bit back in time, a blast from the past with a guy named who's a country legend in his own right, Ronnie Milsap, guy that was really big in the 80s. He's released a new record this year, and this song has been, I believe, released as a single on the streaming platforms called Wild Honey. So, Andy, what do you say, Wild Honey or Ronnie Milsap?
I'm giving this one a crap. The lyrics, I do not really like the song. It's basically is, hey, my girl's hot. And then the one that stuck in my head is the line, I think it's when she wants some loving, I'm the lucky guy. If you put that in less PG like words, I'm like, this is just not very this is not good to be saying in songs. I don't like songs like this. I don't know what you call the little synthesizer. I call it the Bon Jovi tube that's in the chorus. I don't like that. It's the sound of it. Didn't really particularly like it. It's not that great.
Well, you're an 80s country hater, so.
I really have nothing good to say about this song.
All right. So on the crap scale, what did you give it? Just a regular one?
Just regular crap.
And just one crap. All right, we got our first crap
better than
today.
Tim McGraw.
Yeah, it's better than that Tim McGraw song that Kyle was talking about being a jam, and it was utter ass.
Okay, we bring the old stuff again.
Well, you can't beat a dead horse on this show.
Well,
Ryan, what about you? Wild Honey, Ronnie Milsap.
I want to point out that he's from Robbinsville, North Carolina, and he's either partially blind or completely blind. So those are two things he's got going for him. Good for you, buddy, for making good music and all that. But we're supposed to respect our elders, right? So I'm going to respectfully pass on this one and call this one crap. This is absolute crap. Similar to what Andy was saying, if Chase Rice wrote these lyrics, we would destroy him.
Yes,
When she wants some sugar, I'm her sugar pie. She's my wild honey. Everybody knows my honey just wild about me. Come on. I'm like a kid in a candy store with a feast for hungry eyes. Like, come on. I just also when I played it for my wife and Logan, I texted you about this. It's the same beat as the Ricochet song. You remember the band Ricochet when they had the money? She got her daddy's money.
Yep.
Her mom was good. It's the same beat. That wasn't a good song either. This is crap. I'm sorry.
All right, two craps. Kyle, what do you say? Ronnie Milsap, Wild Honey.
yeah, I was giving it a crap. The first time I listened to it, I was like, okay, it's a kind of generic sound. And then I was just riding down the road today, and I heard the lyric that he was talking about in the candy store. And I was like, did he just say what I think he said? I replayed it, and I was like, that's kind of weird. It's like whenever she's around, I just feel like a kid in the candy store. I can't stop with just one. Yes, I got to have more and more. I was like, it's kind of weird. And so then I looked up the lyrics, and I was like, yeah, I don't like Ryan said, we would destroy Chase Rice.
Yeah, the writer of the song, Girl.
Yeah, this is a song, like, if it was, we got to give credit to Ronnie Milsap, like, as you said, country legend in his own right. This is a song, if it was written by somebody else, we would get classic Rock Carter to read the lyrics on the episode. So, yeah, that's a crap hit. So, it wasn't really until I listened to the lyrics until I really made up my mind or looked up the lyrics and I was like, this isn't very good. So,
Yeah, I agree with you on that one. Like, the more I listened to it, the worse it got.
yeah.
So this one was it was a shower, not a grower.
Some
But
might
the
say.
wrong way.
Oh man. All right. So I initially had this as a light crap, but I'm going to come to his defense a little bit here. And I'm going to point out the positives in this song because the key difference between this and like say the bro country or the boyfriend country now is the sonic sounds. I've always said, and so has a lot of people, that bro country era from 2013 to 2015, whatever the high watermark for that was. The biggest problem with that was not the trite lyrics and the cliche Dixie Cups and Daisy Dukes, all that other bullshit. It was the sound, man. They had a lot of drum machines. They had snap tracks. It wasn't country. Like if we want to be honest, Country Boy Can't Survive is a checklist bro country song, but it's set to a countryer sound. So it's more palatable to people, and Hank Jr. did it, so people give it a pass. I'm going to kind of say the same thing with Ronnie Milsap here. it definitely has an 80s sound. And I know Andy is an 80s hater of country music, but I find it a little bit, endearing in some ways because you don't hear 80s country much anymore. And this is what pop country used to be. If this was still pop country, radio would be in a better place. He was the pop country artist of his era. So it wasn't like he's George Strait. When you have that in mind, he's not reinventing the wheel, as I said with the first song by Triston. But it's just a normal, straight down the middle, vanilla country song about a girl. And one of the things about country is the simplistic art form. It's not always going to be heavy narrative songs by Evan Felker or Tyler Childers. It's just kind of like made for radio. If this was 1984, 1986, it would be a number one hit. It would be. And I will say that I do appreciate, even though the lyrics are not that great, I do appreciate the turn of phrase and the hook. That you don't see in a lot of country songs anymore, where he says, "Whoa, she's my wild honey." Well, and everybody knows my honey is just wild about me. It's the same thing BJ Barham did with "She gave up the drinking," or "I gave up the drinking before she gave up on me." It's that classic country turn of phrase in the hook that I have to appreciate. That all being said, it isn't that great of a song. I'm going to give it a light slap just out of respect for Ronnie Milsap, just because you three hated on it the whole time. But yeah, he could do better.
Put this one in the top pocket for a couple of months down the road. Bring up some old stuff on D-Berry.
Hey, at least I rationalized mine. You just said that awful enough. Tim McGraw song was a jam. I tried to rationalize my point.
I listened. Yeah, well, I didn't really have a reason to think that. It was just sketchy to me.
Yeah, so what was it? 3,500 OBO. I mean, get that fuck out of here.
Okay, all right. Kick him while he's down.
Yeah. All right, moving back to Texas for a little while. Here's a guy named Slade Coulter. He's a brand new guy on the scene. I want to say he's out of West Texas. I think he went to Texas Tech. I believe he is also managed by Dalton Domino. He's part of this younger crowd of artists that Dalton Domino is kind of bringing up. Jacob Stelly being one, Cat Hasty being the other. We talked about Cat last episode, and Slade Coulter is being the other. Slade Coulter definitely is from that younger scene of more rock-leaning Texas music, which I'm very much a big fan of. Obviously the big names, Co Wetzel, but you also got Geo and the Guns, Austin Meade, Austin Upchurch. There's just a bunch of them that are coming up with this more rock-leaning sound, and I kind of dig it. So I'm going to throw it over to Kyle here first. Mm-hmm. Hey, Mary, Slade Coulter, what do you think?
Of the 5 you gave us, this was probably my favorite song. I had never heard of Slade Coulter until you turned me on to him today, and I spent most of my day listening to his stuff. I really like the rock element of the country scene, as I've stated plenty of times. And I haven't really invested time in the lyrics or anything because I don't really care, just because it sounds so good. The lyrics may be crap. I haven't looked at them. I've just listened to the song because it sounds good. So, and that's half of the battle for any song. Does it sound good? So this is it's a strong slap for me.
All right, Ryan, what do you say?
Again, coming into this podcast without knowing what you guys would say or anything about a lot of these guys, it's kind of interesting. I had in the notes here, is this guy buddies with Dalton? Isn't he from Lubbock? So that's interesting that he's getting managed by Dalton Domino. That's cool. Thank you, Logan, for turning me on to him. And I'd never heard of this guy either. So I also appreciated this. This is a great song. First of all, this guy's name is Slade. I mean, that's just cool points right there. That
rock and roll.
That gets him halfway there. I mentioned earlier about Rustin Kelly. That's where I was thinking of with this guy. It's that kind of Mockingbird sound. I understand Mockingbird has a heavy harmonica at the beginning, but sonically it's kind of the same. I had written down here, is this country? This is a rock song, right?
Yeah.
I'm older, but this could have been a Counting Crows or Wallflower song when I was growing up. They've got a really tight guitar solo, about 15 seconds long at 2 minutes in. It's perfectly done to be on radio. I mean, this is one headlight down to the Hammond organ in the background and the idea of the pretty girl who left town. I mean, it's literally the same piece. Also, I was trying to place his voice. The closest I could get, and once I hit on it, it made perfect sense. He's Adam Duritz from the Counting Crows. I couldn't place his voice. I went to Parker. I went to Dalton. I went to a couple other people. Who is it? I went to the guys from Third Eye Blind, and it's Adam Duritz. Honestly, that is who he reminded me of. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but the only other thing that I had in there was just I like the line, "The way you turn it off and on just scares me," when he's talking about how she's going to be on TV and she gets really good at acting. I won't believe a word you say, every little story you fabricate. I mean, that's That's a nice turn of phrase to use the comment you made earlier. So this is solid. Different from a lot of his other music so far from what I was able to tell, but this is really good.
Yeah.
Slap. Sorry.
Slap. 2 slaps. No, I mean, I generally agree. I'm going to throw it over to Andy before I give my final thoughts on this Hey Mary by Slade Coulter.
Despite as many times as Logan has told me to listen to this guy, this is the first song I've ever heard from him. This is as far as I've gotten. That's on my checklist to do for tomorrow is to finish listening to more of him. I think he sounds like Cleto Cordero and Reed Southall mixed together. Certain the way he pronounces words or the tone in his voice when he says it, he reminds me of Cleto. And
yeah, that could be the West Texas influence too.
It could be. That just could be his accent.
Cleto's a TTU guy too.
Yeah, but I've never heard anybody else that sounded like Cleto before. So I don't know if it's his accent from where they're from. I don't know what that is, but it reminded me of Cleto a little bit, and maybe like Reed Southall or someone that kind of sounds like Reed Southall. But one of the things I liked about the song too is that like the opening verse to it, it's one of those like lyrics is like, I don't exactly know what he just said, and I really have no idea what it meant. And it's one of those that I want to keep listening to just better understand what he's getting at in the lyrics. So it catches me. It's different and it draws me in because of just the lyrics. I like the sound of the song. I'm going to give it a slap. Definite slap.
Yeah. So like, I pretty much agree with what you guys have to say about this. I've told you about this guy a few weeks ago. I was hoping you were going to eventually listen to him, but I'm a big fan of Slade Coulter and a lot of the guys that Dalton is managing. I give this song a hard slap because this was my favorite song of the 5 by far. I love the sound of this song. Like I said, that kind of the Texas rock scene that's kind of developing with guys in their early to late 20s, I think is fantastic. It's a good change up from on your playlist from, the Randall Kings and the Triston Marez and people like that. It's a good like change of pace. And it's this song in particular is very similar thematically to Co Wetzel's Make Believe. It's a song about a love triangle of a guy and a girl, and then she won't leave the guy that she's with who isn't right for her, even though he wants her to, and he really wants to be with her. And deep down, I think you don't really know if she wants to be with him, but she knows that she'd be better off with him, but she doesn't leave the situation she's in. And I really like that idea a lot in a song, but in particular, I love the line, I'm a sucker for women who never make up their damn mind. Like, good Lord, man. Like, I think we've all been there at times. Like, there's a element of truth that it's very relatable with that line that this song I think is one of his best songs he's put out to date. So it gets a hard slap from me. All right. So away from Texas and into the realm pivoting back to mainstream. I guess you want to call this country. I don't fucking know at this point. We're going to go with No Sad Songs by Niko Moon. Ryan, give us your first thought.
This is another guy with a caps lock problem on Spotify. Why is every single one of his songs capitalized? Cardi pulls this move too.
Yeah.
So I read about him. I hadn't heard of him before today. He's got the country boy street cred with the roots in Georgia and the ties to Zach Brown Band, having written 5 or 6 songs for the guys. He's also signed to CAA, though, and he worked with Mr. Man of the Moment, Luke Combs. So I'm not sure if that's a good thing or a bad thing. He sure went through the Nashville microwave pretty quick, and he's out and ready to serve to the public. Expect to hear this song at summer country concert tailgates. It'll be bumping out the back of each Ford F-150 that Daddy bought for graduation. Lined up side by side, girls in the back dancing happily or sloppily and barely broken in cowboy boots with just enough liquor in their cup to get them lit. Little girls play stump with their college hats on backwards and their shirts tucked in. I mean, come on. This song is bad.
You just triggered so many people.
But the question is, there was no lie detected.
Yeah, that's true. He just came at so many people.
It's true.
Catchy.
It is.
It's catchy, but is it good? I mean, he hits all the notes, and I literally wrote them down. He's breaking into Lucchese's. He's got My Good Time Drink in his hand. He's got A Long Week that he's about to drink off. He's got Sweet Home of Alabama, Chicken Fried, Wagon Wheel. I mean, he's wants something to play something we can raise hell to and praise Dale to. I mean, he didn't say that, but This is less Bubba Sparks and more Asher Roth in that it's catchy for a summer jam 1 year. This is like the Buy Me a Boat song with Chris Jansen, where you know exactly where you were when it came out, and you can envision the parking lot where you were when you heard it the first time. I don't like it. This is crap. In case you can't tell, I also don't like the line about. He did mention, however, I do think this is a good. Also, I'll say this as it's a good mixer for a DJ to move from hip hop to country and back. And I know that we on our other podcast talked to Sonny Ledford about this, and this is a Sonny Ledford jam if I've ever heard one. So the idea of moving between hip hop and country back and forth, it's probably going to do really well on the radio, and he's probably going to be really popular. But this particular song is absolute crap.
All right, there's one absolute crap. Andy, what do you say?
I had never heard of this guy before, and when you first sent it, I actually was thinking it was going to be a good song because his name sounds like he would have very creative songs, and he has a cool name.
Well, I apologize for exposing you to this ridiculous artist.
And first of all, sad songs make me happy, and then since when is Wagon Wheel a happy song? I don't. If you're playing happy songs, Wagon Wheel doesn't strike me as a happy song. And first, I feel like this guy wants to listen to Darius Rucker's Wagon Wheel as well, which is a crying shame. It's an Old Crow Medicine Show song, and nothing else exists. And this guy sounds like he listened to Sellout Song by Kevin Fowler
and took it seriously.
Took it seriously because it sounds identical to that song. I don't think he got the joke, and I think he thought I'm going to rip off this and be number one on country radio.
But he doesn't have the hot girls in the music video.
I haven't seen the video. I was hoping there was at least going to be some hot girls in it. Because that's what Zane Williams, is that new hot number one country song good? No, but the girls are sure hot. So that's a letdown. That was the only hope I had. Hard crap.
All right, Kyle.
So going back to Ryan's point, when I looked him up on Spotify and I saw all his songs were in all caps, I immediately was like, oh no, no. So that kind of immediately put me on like the negative streak towards him. And I finally realized he was the one that I hear the good time song that you hear all the time on the highway. I was like, oh, this is who this guy is. And the song immediately reminded me, like I can't remember the song, the On a Boat by the Chris Jansen song. It reminded me of the Pontoon song. Who sings that?
Little Big Town.
Little Big Town. That was like super popular in like 2014 that everyone on the lake played. It's a crap song.
Not a good song either.
No, it's not. But this isn't a good song, but it's going to be uber successful and he's going to be uber rich off of it. But it's not a good song. So that's about all I have to say on it.
Well, we have 3 hard craps. I'm just going to say this is an awful song. Actually, it's not just an awful song. It's a shitstorm of a song, from the horrible drum machine beats to start off with to the trite cliche lyrics of everything that's supposed to be country that he checks off. I mean, realistically, this is just music for suburban soccer moms to feel country when they're going out with the girls to have margarita night at Chili's. That's all this is. I mean, it's ridiculous that this is what people want to listen to. It is absolutely terrible. He said, no sad songs. That ain't it, Chief. Like Andy said, sad songs make me happy, douchebag. And the thing about it, the lyrics are just like where it gets me. Like I've heard songs like this before sonically, and it is what it is. But the lyrics about this, like, one, he shouts out his own music that if you're not Brad Paisley, you can't get away with that in country music. But he shouts out his own music when he said, so keep that good time spinning on repeat. Yeah, you shouted out your own song, you douche canoe. Like, don't do that. You're not Brad Paisley. You're not going to be able to have that tongue-in-cheek kind of kitschy style of music. Like, you're wearing the little it's not a cowboy hat, but y'all know the kind of hat I'm talking about that you see every girl wearing at a sundress at a brewery in North Carolina on Saturdays.
It's when her and the girls go out on Sunday to the winery. And that's what they are. Those hats are always the ones you see in the fall where they wear like the knee-high boots and the really big shawl-looking shirts. Yes.
Mm-hmm. That's the kind of hat he's wearing. Like, and then what really, I almost threw up at the very beginning of this song when he said, Yeah, you'd think it's hunting season by the way I'm killing the goose. Yeah. One, I with the way you look like you've been packaged for pop country radio, I don't think this guy's ever, like, I'm not a hunter, but I admit that I don't pretend to hunt. I don't think this guy's ever shot a goose. I very highly doubt that he can kill much of a bottle of Grey Goose. So like, don't put out like puke of lyrics onto at the very beginning of the song like that. It's ridiculous. Like, come on, breaking in Lucchese boots. You probably never saw Lucchese boots until your label gave them to you when you met with your image consultant for the first time. Like, get out of here. This song's a hard crap. I wish I never had discovered this guy, but he's going to end up being, the fun dance guy that plays at the festivals. I know he's playing in June at the Myrtle Beach Country Music Festival they have down there on the side of where the pavilion is. I mean, it's a shame. I already know people that say they really like his music because he said that his new album is going to be nothing but fun, upbeat, positive country music. Bro, this is country music. Like, we like a little heartbreak. We like a little tear in our beer, drowning down our sorrows with whiskey under the neon light. Like, get out of here with that crap. It's Bush League.
Now,
When you said he was shouted out his own song, I had no idea that was his own song. I thought he meant like "Let the Good Times Roll." Like, I had no clue that was a song. Never heard of it.
Yeah, it's not good. It's a hard crap.
now, I don't like to judge people based on appearances or whatnot, but when I saw
But
this
you are.
image, but I am about to right now.
I don't
as we
mean this,
speak.
the classic saying, I don't mean no harm, but
But when I saw this image on Spotify, I was like, wow, this guy looks like if Nashville country just threw some shit in a blender and then this is what popped out.
Denim shirt, Jimmy Allen hat.
yep.
He's in a cornfield, or really, it might not be corn, it might be like cattails, a swamp or something. Yeah, oh goodness.
Yeah. Well, to be fair to the guy, he's probably a really nice guy. He probably isn't a tortured soul like some of the people we listen to and we tout on this show all the time. Like, he's probably a very decent human being, but that doesn't mean that you're bereft of criticism from the crap music that you put on Spotify for everybody to dance around to at the tailgates.
Hey man, he's got more money than I do, so
Yeah, I know, right? Maybe who's doing what right?
yeah, right. I mean, so he's got 42 million plays on one song on Spotify. He's doing something.
Oh, that was mind-boggling when I saw that. I think it was Good Time, right?
Yeah,
Like 40, and he did a remix with Shaggy, I believe, of that song.
There's
Like-
all you need to know where he stands on country music.
Yeah. But 42 million streams is unfathomable, man. Like, especially for that song,
Yes.
Would that make him like 37 cents?
probably. He might be able to buy a little bit of shine for his Lucchese's that he sings about. Some saddle soap.
Cases are expensive.
Oh, I know. But yeah, well, that wraps up this segment of Slapper Crap. One thing I'd like to mention before we wrap up the episode, I know I sent it to Andy, but I think that you both would probably like it. Parker McCollum on his Instagram Live, he does a lot of like unreleased songs. We just put out an article on the website countrycoldcans.com. We put out a post talking about one of them that he just released like 2 days ago. He wrote it with Miranda Lambert, John Randall, and Randy Rogers, and it's called Happy Ever After, but it's not about being happy ever after. I think it's a really good song. I think it's some really damn good songwriting in that. So I'm excited to hear some of these new tunes he's been playing, because like Andy and I were saying on his IG Live, he's all the time playing some unreleased stuff. So I've heard probably half the record now acoustically before it even drops.
Do you think Miranda will be featured on that song?
That would be a really big career boost for him.
It would.
And if he's already writing with her, I mean,
He's
that
in
would,
the door
it's
with her,
possible. Yeah.
They're on tour together, right? I mean, well, I guess not because of COVID, but they were going to go on tour together.
Yeah, you're right. They were going to.
So maybe there's something tied in there.
Could be. Because, Randy Rogers, man, like he was managed by Randy Rogers for a long time before he like got a little bigger. But Randy Rogers is kind of like responsible for giving Parker an open door for his ascent. And as we've said on this show a lot, Parker is an interesting guy for us because his music is slick and clean enough for the mainstream, but it still has some depth to it. And it still is kind of rooted in Texas. But at the same time, he's got the look to be able to to be able to be successful in the mainstream. I mean, you'll be surprised how many people on my Instagram of girls I know that follow this guy who do not know anything about Texas country whatsoever, but they follow Parker McCollum. So that's a good sign for him moving forward, that I think he's going to end up having some bigger success. It just, Andy, I guess we're never going to see him again at a place the size of City Limits.
Probably not. Glad we went while we could.
Yep.
Glad I remember the first half of it.
Classic Andy.
Yep. Oh, man. Well, Ryan, we appreciate you sitting in with us on this edition of Slap or Crap.
No worries. Good songs for the most part.
For the most part. Well, for this episode of Country and Cold Cans, as always, I'm Logan, sitting here with Andy and Kyle, and this week sitting here with Ryan. Be sure to check out Miserable and Reckless on Spotify, Podbean, Amazon Podcast, and Apple Podcast. We will give you some pretty fun content over there. I wouldn't say it's always positive, but it's a good show to listen to. We'll see you next time.